everybody, and welcome wherever you might be. This is NBL Overtime. No, the show started. Hashtag NBL Overtime. It caught me by surprise. Let's get into it. Let's start with two of the hottest teams in the league. We'll start with Illawarra and Sydney. They're handling business, and there's so much excitement about whatever matchup happens when it comes to the NBL 22 playoffs. But these two teams, if they were to meet at some point, it'd be fun. But Illawarra went to Brisbane, Sydney got Adelaide, and they just keep on rolling.
Hey, New South Wales is dominating the competition right now. These two teams absolutely roaring their way to the postseason. The Kings, 11-game winning streak, and the Hawks, they're playing at a championship level right now. And I like the fact that when they're coming up into these danger games, we go into the opening segment of these broadcasts, we say, geez, you know, if they're not really on point, this could become interesting. These teams are just coming out and wiping them off the floor. Illawarra were just a dominant force. Look at the score. They're up 20, just having some fun in the open floor. Went in and smashed Brisbane. Sydney went down and smashed Tassie. It's all roses above the border right now.
You know, the interesting thing is, I mean, all those things you just said, Liam, correct. But the hardest thing to do is stay focused when things are going well, right? You go into Melbourne, you roll Melbourne twice in a week. So after that, it's like, all right, cool. We could let our guards down. We beat the top team and then get smacked. So to see them go into Brisbane and smack Brisbane. They were in full control of that game. Went in and did what they needed to do. Over the Sydney Kings. Jalen Adams had 3 fouls early in this game. No Ian Clark. So you would think with Jalen Adams, usually the guy that sets the tone and gets it done for everyone else, that, you know, there may be a bit of an issue. They went in there and handled him. Everybody else stepped up. Sydney Kings are the real deal, and they have a chance to go 12 consecutive wins tonight.
Exactly what they did is what championship teams do. Melbourne did it in Cairns on Sunday as well, the throwdown win where they got there late on Thursday night. We'll touch on South East Melbourne shortly. But championship teams and teams in any sport who legitimately want to contend go in on the road and beat teams you're meant to beat, and they smack them. You can find excuses, of course, Jalen Adams in foul trouble, no Ian Clark. You know what? They beat Adelaide. Adelaide are just playing the season out. Brisbane likewise, although last night's game was pretty fun to watch. But this is what you need to do, because if you slip up, it can cost you home court advantage. It makes things tougher, and it makes it tougher to be able to win a championship. All those three teams did what they had to do, and the fact that they're all playing really good basketball, those two teams in particular from New South Wales, means next level, baby. This is where this finals is going to be. No one's limping into it. Perth we're going to expect to get their mojo back. They got that win last week, and all of a sudden we've got the best 4 teams in the league playing great basketball.
Well, that's not a given about the Wildcats.
Yeah.
We expect that they will. These kind of games, the New Zealand one, Adelaide, Cairns, we think they'll get their confidence back. Then a couple of tough ones to finish off the season, but they're the odd one out right now. You're right. Melbourne, Sydney, Illawarra, all playing at exactly the right level that you want to be at heading towards the finals. Wildcats aren't there right now.
See, I'm leaning on 37 years of experience that they're going to play good. All right? I grant, and I said it last week, and I think we all kind of agreed that the 4th team out of those top 4 at the moment, not just ladder, but also the way they're playing. But I'm going to lean on the fact that they can get going because they've got these two guys for a start. Bryce Cotton, as we see there, and Vic Law doing what he does. New Zealand played well. They're playing better in the second half of the year, but they just needed a win, and they just gutted it out, Homicide.
It's going to be tough for this team. It really, really is, because there's teams that have defensively stacked talent to neutralize Bryce Cotton. I'm going to talk about Melbourne United. We know, and Red Army, I don't care if you get mad. They have 3 Damian Martins. And when I say that, I mean just that type of aggression defensively on ball, the ability to wear an offensive player down. They have 3 of those players. It's going to be tough. Jack White again and Vic Law, that matchup has been great all season. It won't disappoint. No one else can consistently step up in a series enough to beat Melbourne United if they face Melbourne United. I just don't believe that. And Sydney Kings have their number, period. You're not getting to the grand finals, and if you do, you're not going to win it. They don't have enough. They simply do not have enough.
I agree. They can't beat Melbourne in a series. They can't beat Sydney in a series. Their only hope is against the Hawks, and they're playing way better than the Wildcats right now. So That's the problem. They're limping in. They weren't up. If they'd made the change, they'd got that done in time. If it had worked out, John Brown III, all right, maybe we could see what that would have looked like.
And that didn't even guarantee that would have worked.
No. But they would have made the change that we all saw they needed to make. But you're right. I mean, these teams have gone about it in the last few years knowing if we're going to win the title, we're going to have to get past Bryce Cotton. And that's why Melbourne have all those guys ready to go. That's why when they play the Wildcats, Wani Swakala-Bullock leads the Kings in minutes in those games, and they completely put their entire defence around that guy. And that's going to make it tough to win in a series against those teams.
I've got two X factors for Perth. And now, Mitch Norton, we expect to be back for the playoffs, right?
That'll be big.
Okay.
This week.
So I think Luke Travers is playing as confident as I've ever seen him play in his young career. And he goes into a role that probably suits him a little bit better than the one he's had the last couple of weeks, where he's had some primary ball handling duties at different times. And I think Matthew Hodgson might be the X factor out of all of them. Now, he's struggled with his injuries. He's not going to give you 25 and 15. I understand that. But if he can beat up on a couple of the bigger guys that the other teams have and neutralise them to some kind of point, again, I'm not certain he can.
You think they can beat either of those teams in a series?
Right now, I have got them fourth, right? But I also think once Mitch Norton comes back in, it makes it a little bit easier on Bryce Cotton. If Travers can hold up his confidence and be a better role for him, I think they're a different team than we've seen the last month. Do I think they could win the championship? No. But Perth have continually proved us wrong year in, year out. I've got them fourth, but nothing would surprise me with Bryce Cotton in the team.
You know what I think? What if Perth finish third? Who would they play? Maybe Sydney.
Either Sydney or
Let's
Melbourne.
say Sydney, right? With Mitch Norton, have they beaten Sydney yet?
No, they haven't.
Nothing's going to change.
I had Sydney winning at the start of the year.
Nothing's going to change.
I've still
and
got them
Sydney got home court advantage. Nothing's going to change.
Weren't you supposed to wear the Illawarra Hawks pyjamas?
He never raised it on
Oh,
air.
come
He
on.
sent me in a text message. I'll say it now. If they win the championship, I'll do the show in the pyjamas.
Okay.
Done?
That's extra now. Come on, man.
No one really wants to see that, but
No one wants to see that.
I want to see that.
Hey, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Let's just touch on them quickly. Playoffs gone. They had their chance again to win the throwdown last Thursday night. They did not. They went and handled business in Bendigo on Sunday. You were courtside, man. Now, Matt Logue is reporting from News Corp that Simon Mitchell, Mitch Creek, Ryan Brockhoff is all going to re-sign and stay. I want to stay with you, Homer. So what do you make of this team? What do they do going into next year?
Well, we got to sign back Mitch Creek. Sign back Brookhoff. I'm not mad at that at all. You sign back your coach. I think he's earned at least another year. You get a game away, get a quarter away from the grand finals. Some injuries. I think they're too deep at that guard position. So it's hard to lean on one guy. You're giving, it's almost like equal opportunity at that point guard position. I think they have too much depth there. They got to make a decision in the offseason at that guard spot. I don't know the contract situation regarding Kyle Adnam, how long he's there. Zay Liafa, how long he's there. I don't know that, but I think a decision got to be made because at some point they're going to bring in another import, aren't they? Okay, you got a log jam. You got to make some kind of move. And inconsistency, Glidden, I barely saw him this year. Ruben Tarangi, you gave him a multi-year deal. These guys haven't been consistent enough, yet they're still getting rewarded. I don't understand. I don't understand. I do not understand.
I don't have an answer for you because it's a really disappointing year.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Which way you carve it up.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Doesn't matter which way you carve this up. It's a championship,
Too much talent on
aspirational
that team. Too much talent on that team
that came in
for them to
agreed
nosedive out of the race. What did they start? Like 11 and
5.
Come on, man. That is just you talk about a train wreck. That's exactly what that was. And with so much talent, what happened? What happened?
And that's the question.
It's so much experience.
On everyone's lips, right?
What happened? The inability to be able to close out games.
That's
what it was.
That's the actual reason.
The inability to close it out, man.
Right? No, I heard Liam talk about it about 15 times over the weekend, but because that is it. That is 100% the reason they're not in the playoffs and they're not a chance to have a chance at a championship like they did 12 months ago.
It's a huge problem for them to solve. It's the reason why they don't have a championship.
That's also true.
Because they couldn't close out the final quarter of Game 3 of the semi-final series. They would have won that grand final.
So how do you re-sign those people that you can't close out with?
And then the question.
And then you're right, they haven't been able to close this season. So there's some tightening of the net going on with all of that, and they need to address that. The Adnam is under contract for next season. Leafa's a player option. I find the Brokoff thing a bit weird because he's under contract for next season and there's no need to re-sign him. The Simon Mitchell thing, I would imagine there was a report of a multi-year deal. I would think a 1+1, with that being a club option, would make sense as far as that deal would go. But what I think they need to do, they need a floor general. They need a point guard who is a floor general who can get them over the line in fourth quarters. If you want to re-sign Xavier Mumford, do that, but he's the 2. He's just not that point guard floor general that's going to close out fourth quarters like I think they probably hoped that he would be. So there's some big decisions to make over the off-season.
Does he get the opportunity, though? At times, the wrong players have the pill in their hands in late game situations. I agree with what you're saying about Xavier Mumford, but it's also like he's got to get the pill to be able to be the late game closer, right?
But they need a guy that says, "This is my ball.
Okay.
Slide over." I don't know. Has he been that guy?
He probably hasn't.
He was once in Illawarra for one game. He was great the other day against the worst defensive team in the league. As the 2, I think he'd be great for them next year.
I know it's a broken record, but it has to get into Mitch Creek's hands at some point late in the game, and then we just see what happens. But it's been reported they're going to come, and I said last week, I think Simon Mitchell deserves a year, at a minimum, to be like, hey, last year wasn't a fluke. This was a unique season, not last year. Let's have a crack and run it back. So we'll see what happens. But they are definitely been disappointing, considering we all thought they'd be there at the start of the year and even halfway through, and yet they're going to be watching on, just like we are, when the playoffs start. All right, power rankings time. This will be interesting.
Really?
Yep, at Liam Santa, fire away.
Look at that.
Yep.
One little change.
It seems like someone had a busy week calling games, didn't have time to worry about the power rankings.
The Phoenix I think they played Melbourne United tough.
They did.
Throw down. They turned up. They took care of the breakers. The Taipans were disappointing over the course of this week. 2 straight losses against good teams, but they couldn't get the job done. So all holding pretty steady, except for that one little change in the middle.
Next start time. Let's get into it because it's exciting. And there seems to be a draft board every 2 days. And this is what happens as we get close to the NBA draft and into the off-season.
Man.
Take it away, man, because you are losing your mind. Usman Jing's been great the last month. Digbo, he went from a dude that couldn't even get into a game to having the amount of confidence that he does. And, of course, Kai Soto was outstanding last night. Homicide, you're the unofficial Next Star ambassador. Take it away.
It starts on the defensive end with this young man right there on screen. To watch the growth from the first half of this season to the second half is apples and oranges. I mean, look at the confidence, step back. This is on one of the toughest players in the league, Mitch Creek, who gave him high praises. He's talented. He can shoot the ball. It's just a confidence thing, right? And it's great to see what he did in that game. And then over the city of churches, Kai Soto last night, 21 points, had his best offensive output. And again, you talk about the growth. Peter Hooley and I were discussing, had he played, he should play this offseason in NBL 1, get more minutes under his belt, develop more, and come back more confident and ready for next season. I don't think that's a bad idea. And this gentleman right here, man, he just wants to play. He just wants to show that he can get to the next level. There were scouts in the building all of these games, and it was great to see him put on while he's getting his opportunities now. And Kai Soto, very interesting because I know he's not on screen right now, Digbo's shooting the 3, and he's been in double figures a few of his last games, which has been good. Kai Soto would not have even been getting a lot of these minutes if the players that were injured, we talk about
Isaac Humphries. Cam
Bairstow. So that's less minutes for Soto. So it was good that he got the opportunity yesterday. And right now both teams are making finals. So guess what? Let the young fellas play and show what they can do. And they've been putting on. They've been performing well.
It seems to me from the outside looking in, they've been all really well coached. Now, that might just be a coincidence that when the season's done, they're getting more opportunities, but they haven't lost their confidence, these guys. This is maybe a generational thing as well. But when given the opportunities, considering they looked really, really a long way off it early at the start of the year when they got, really limited minutes, This is the time you want to be playing your best basketball. When the scouts are in town and you've got the confidence and you're doing what they're doing. So I'm not sure coincidence or well coached, but either way, it's worked for these three young men.
Yeah, and it's great to see. It's no guarantee that when they're given these opportunities that they're going to grab them.
Exactly.
And you credit the coaching for doing that, putting them in the right positions, but also these young men. It's been really, really fun to watch. I like the fact that these guys are being showcased right now. This makes sense for me. I like the big minutes for Soto. He only played 5 minutes the previous game. That didn't make any sense at this point of the season. He's a really talented kid. Jeng, blown up in the second half. They made the move. Jeremiah Martin's out. We're giving the ball to Usman Jeng a little bit more, and they've put him in a position to succeed. And Digba, that's a guy I'd like to see back next year. I'd like to see him back next year. I'd like to see Makua Maker back next year. Have a huge second year as a next star.
Listen, that young fella can go. That young fella can go. Super talented. I love watching him play. And then let's talk about, since we're in the next stars conversation, what's our guy, Melbourne United? Oh, my goodness. That is a grown man. I just love the energy. His motor, I just love how he goes about it. Whether he fouls out or not, he's going hard. He's going hard. He's taking a page out of Joe Lualachu's book. He gets that pill. It's going up.
It might be his birthday today as well, I think. So if it is, happy birthday. It is not. I know it's around this time sometime. I sent a graphic on the Melbourne United Twitter page. So happy birthday, big man. What is he, 19 or 20 now?
These are babies, man.
Yeah, I know.
These are babies.
I know. He could be the biggest, strongest baby in the world, by the way, but he can play. Let's go to New Zealand. I want to touch on New Zealand because we spoke about Usman Jeng. They've played more competitive basketball in the second half of the year, and we know exactly the crappy time they've had to have. That's the roster rundown for next year. I'll start with you, Liam. What do they need to do? Of course, Hugo Besson under contract, but we expect that he'll be in the NBA as well as Usman Jeng. So far away, Liam. What do you make?
Well, firstly, look at those guys under contract. We don't think Besson or Jeng are going to be back next year, right? So it's really just Abercrombie, Lowe and Wetzel. Then you got the club options on those other guys who are at the depth end of your roster. The big one for me is Finn Delaney. What do the Breakers want to do with Finn Delaney? What does he want to do? Look, I would like to see them bring back Peyton Siva. I think Will McDowell-White is a really good player in this league, and if he finds the right situation, can have a big impact. But Delaney, for me, is the really interesting one because there are going to be some teams around the league who would love to pry him out of New Zealand, and I actually think he's ripe and would benefit from a change of scenery.
The tough thing with this is Homicide. And Finn Delaney is the example I'm going to use. If these guys had if they had home games, it may drastically and significantly enhance the way they've gone about it. I'm not saying Finn Delaney's had a horrible season, but last year he was better, all NBL. But that's 2 years away from your home and your family and your friends and the home court advantage and the momentum that comes with it, which you spoke really well to early in the year. So that's a tough one. Like when you're trying to sign guys or you're making a decision as a player, does that play into it? Because I think it has to in some small way, and then you have to find out in your own guess if it actually has made a difference to the performance or the fact is it's time to go in a new direction. It's a complicated situation, made even more complicated by the fact that they haven't been in New Zealand for 2 years.
Finn Delaney will be back. It's a huge factor. You haven't been home for 2 years. You've been playing on the road pretty much a year and a half. Who in that situation would be able to reign supreme and be as successful as any other team with home games?
I'm with you.
Very, very, very difficult.
Makes it tough. Hey,
extremely difficult.
Let me ask you about Adelaide then. John Casey reported last night's game, his sideline reporter saying, hey, you know what, they're going to go big in free agency, which will be interesting. No Jeff Van Groningen anymore. So CJ Bruton with club management will obviously have a bit more fingertips on what the roster looks next year. You talk to me what you make of this, Homicide.
I think DJ comes back. Sunday Detch comes back.
Mutual option. Keep me a spell.
Bring my man Hiram Harris back.
He's been great.
Will Isaac Humphries be healthy and ready to go? Go to Summer League. Go grab some imports that you can rely on. And go from there.
What are you hearing, Liam?
Not much, just yet.
Big in free agency seems like you're going to go big because they went.
They're going to go hard.
They went big last year and they got hard and they got their guy.
They didn't go
Mitch
big
McCarron.
last year.
Well, they got Mitch McCarron. They went relatively big to be able to get a starting starting 5-piece out of Melbourne and a nice contract, which he well and truly deserved.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So firstly about Sunday Ditch, I've got my eyes on that. I'm interested to see whether he enters free agency. Whether he looks at it and says, you know what, I think I could do with a change of scenery, and whether teams are going to have the opportunity to talk to him. That's an interesting little option to keep an eye on, I think, over the next couple of weeks. But I think it's all, like Corey said, it's all about the imports next season. If you're the Adelaide 36ers, don't overspend on the local talent this off-season. You know, big money for Mitch McCarron. Daniel Johnson's on a sizable deal every time they re-sign that guy. And then it's a little cheaper on the imports. That's not going to work for that team. You gotta hit on the import at an elite level. Jerome Randall, a Josh Childress, these kind of guys. Jacob Wiley. It's when they have those level of imports that they're a super competitive team. They got to make sure that they're willing to spend on those guys.
You get what you pay for in this world.
Agreed.
All right? Once in a while, you might find a diamond that you didn't pay for, but you didn't know it was going to be a diamond. That's luck of the draw. 9 out of 10 times, you get what you pay for. Go spend some money. Go get some enforcers who's going to show up consistently and get you some wins. This is not a cupcake league.
It is not.
In case y'all don't know that. I don't know if you heard it before, but let me say it again. It ain't a cupcake league. Go big.
I just jotted down
Or go home.
Sunday Ditch's name, because I always find it interesting when Liam Santamaria drops this little piece of information. Quickly.
I will say that
Yes.
there's a conversation about Mitch McCarron.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, what we've seen this year, is he a point guard, so on and so forth. If Dusty Hannett, if he's got a flat out bucket next to him in the backcourt and on the wing in that 3 spot, that can work. So I think you look at him as your point guard and you go and get a couple of high-scoring guys at the 2 and the 3.
Which would mean that Sunday Ditch isn't at the basketball club, right?
Or coming off the bench.
Yeah, which I think he's a starter in this league, defensively as well, in particular. Cairns quickly, let's have a little look. Weekend disappointing, but there has been some okay signs. There you go. This will be interesting. Be very interesting. Your boy, Rookie of the Year, obviously mutual options. I don't believe in mutual options. For people out there who actually wonder why I chuckle, I don't believe in it because
You said my boy
there's
who?
no way.
Who?
The Rookie of the Year.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, as long as you know.
Yeah, well, you've only said it about 48 times in the last 4 days.
As long as you know.
What do you make, Liam? What are you hearing? Anything in particular right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, Adam Ford was saying he thinks those guys, Bull Qual, Keanu Pinder, they're thinking about contracts right now. They're not focused on their game, which was interesting from him over the weekend. I think it's very similar for them. Those guys are going to opt out because they've blown up this year, and you got to be careful not to overpay. I think it would be good for both of those guys to come back from a personal level and then look down keep improving, look down the line to get the real bag. But again, for them, it's about the imports. Now, the big decision is at Scott Machado. That's the huge decision, I think, because he's been there for 3 years now. He's
3 already?
the first year and then the extra 2 years.
It was a 2 + 1.
Yeah,
I thought he signed a 3-year deal.
I think it was a 2.
Okay.
Coming off contract. He's going to be 32. He's going to turn 32, I think, this off season.
That's not over.
It's not over. Rough season with injury. So that's the big decision. We know when he's playing at a high level, he's a killer.
True.
In this league, and he's great for them from a culture and a leader perspective. So that's the big decision that they have to make.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Of course, Adam Ford said he'll take a pay cut to sign them. And secondly, I think he's reacting to the fact that you asked Keanu Pinder half-time of a game about chasing a contract. So you're the person to blame, I believe.
Come on, man.
Santa's watching. All thanks to Amy. Let's get into it. At Liam Santa, he needs elves around the country. Take it away, Liam.
Well, where are we going to start? We're going to start in Perth. Look at Dan Shamir playing some defence. He's a long way. Been a rough year for the Taipans. Adam Ford's just taken a little moment here, mid-game, just to cool his jets. Corey, talk me through this.
Oh, my goodness, man. I lost my mind when I saw... Yo, you know what? I've been losing my mind a whole lot. Oh, yeah, he got the shoes.
Look at the size of the kicks. The little fella. Look at this pass from Mitch McCarron. Bang! Right off Hiram Harris's head. Bang! That's rough. Little Sunday afternoon wedgie. Shout out to No Dunks crew. And I enjoyed this from Joe Blake. Just some sort of Love Actually vibes there. Mason, look at the reaction from Peeling. Ooh. And these are the swaggiest fans in the league, these two.
They're swagged out.
Look at the guy on the left. Ooh. And we always love it when someone gets left hanging, but this, Corey, went to another level.
He looked like he's paused. Robert Franks looked like he was paused.
All thanks to Amy.
You don't dress, you get forgotten about.
That's true.
NBL. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. All right, all thanks to JD Sports as well. It's Sneaker of the Week time. The undisputed king of trainers. Let's have a look at the feet heat on Luke Travers. The LKD 14s. Very, very, very nice for a man who knows his fashion both on and off the basketball court.
Very
Luke
nice.
Travers. They are.
Playing well, looking good.
Look at these. Talk about nice. JD Sports, the undisputed king of trainers, as we know. They're launching the women's Air Jordan 1 Low Elevated. It's a women's exclusive release. It, of course, look at the university blue of
Very
Jordan's
nice.
college team, University of North Carolina, been revamped with the design, the first ever signature shoe. Now, there's very, very, very simple way to get involved. They launched this Friday, the 15th of April, online only via the JDAU app.
Speaking of JD, can we show what you're rocking?
I'm trying. Get the fours, baby, of course. Big thank you to the crew. And for you.
I looked after him. Jack Everin was trying to get his hands on him.
Unbelievable. Love JD Sports, and I'll be in touch in the next couple of days. Hey, all right, look at this. Harlem Globetrotters in town.
It's time to spread game. The Harlem Globetrotters are coming with an all-new tour. 4 quarters of big plays, ankle-breaking moves, and ball-handling wizardry. Do they dunk? Do they dunk? See the stars rattle the rim in the all-new in-game dunk contest. This is the team everyone can cheer for. The Spread Game Tour is coming.
Everyone loves the Harlem Globetrotters, and you know them probably a little bit better than most of us, Homicide.
Yeah, I used to work for them. On the green team, of course. I lost every time. It's a great show. It's the most famous basketball team in the world. They might have the most famous basketball song in the world. And look, this is perfect for a date. This is perfect for just family time. I mean, look, you know the number one thing that I've understood about dating and women?
Hit me. Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Make them laugh. This show will make you laugh, the Harlem Globetrotters. It's a good time, man. Who doesn't love a man that could put a smile on your face? What woman does not love a man that could put a smile on her face and make them laugh? Advice from Corey. You're welcome. Free of charge.
Appreciate it.
Get those tickets. I'll be there.
I'll be there.
On a date.
Who with? We don't know yet.
Listen, come on,
Still
man.
a couple
Come on,
months,
man.
have you?
Come on, man. I still got a couple months.
Make sure you do get involved. Harlem Globetrotters in town. Now, unfortunately, from a show that, of course, we all love, just some bad news and some sad news, and a man who lit up a basketball court in the 80s and the early 90s, and definitely off court as well. He was a man with infectious personality. I speak of Paul Kuiper, who unfortunately passed away over the weekend, Liam. And this is a guy who was really, really fun. It was in our youth growing up watching him play basketball, 180 odd games, part of that Perth Wildcats team that made the semis in 1988. But unfortunately, he passed away on the weekend. So our thoughts are, of course, with all Paul's friends and family and teammates. Anyone who came across him in any small way, loved him for about 2 million different reasons.
Yeah, talk about a guy who could make you laugh, Corey. We grew up with Paul Kuiper on the floor as a guy with West Side and St Kilda and Newcastle, Perth, Gold Coast, who was a big brute on the interior getting work done, and as a part of the big man stocks with the Boomers, but also on the TV as a hoops personality. So that was really sad news, and thoughts with friends and family.
Yeah.
And you can feel I don't know him personally, obviously I wasn't here, but his personality through the screen is infectious. I just felt
Great.
that. Condolences to his family.
Very well said, Homicide. On that note, we are getting out of here. Up next, New Zealand and Sydney.